Okay, now we're loading a bisque firing, and I just want to show you how we do this. We've got a lot of greenware here, and I've put a kiln shelf here for purposes of demonstration, and I'm going to show you what's going in the kiln, which is quite a lot of mugs, and we've got some soap dishes here, and we've got little jugs which are the same size as the mugs over there. We've got some more soap dishes, and we've got a couple of big planters. Now it's going in this kiln, which is a 4 cubic foot top loader. So it's not a big kiln, but it's the sort of thing that a lot of studio potteries might have. We've got 3 kilns in this room. This is another 4 cubic foot kiln. This one is a rectangular layout, and we got about 12 or 14 shelves for this, and that's because we use this one for firing tiles. We make quite a lot of tiles. And then we've got a 8 cubic foot top loader again, which is getting a little bit tired now, so we don't glaze fire in this one anymore, as some sort of bits of rust tend to fall off it, and doesn't matter in a biscuit firing, but in a glaze firing it would. So we don't use that for glazing, and this one we use for these two we use really for everything. Quite handy. There's a commission in that jug there, and there's a planter in the bottom, which is a highly decorated piece, and we've got 3 props, and they are at about 120 degrees. So we've got one at, say, 12 o'clock, one at 4 o'clock, and one at 8 o'clock. And I favour using 3 props on a shelf, because you don't get rockers doing, don't get a shelf that's out of balance, and if you do get one that's rocking a bit, well, you have to worry about the gap between the shortest one, which isn't supporting that shelf properly, and then you're loading a lot of weight on top of that. You can easily break shelves that way. So if you go with 3 shelves, you stand a much better chance of your kiln furniture, which is very expensive, lasting longer. Now, this one here is a white earthenware planter. It's going to be glazed, but not in this firing. This is all raw stuff, and we're just taking this one up to 1,000 degrees. Now, I'm not going to stack these because they've all been slipped. That is to say that they've been decorated with liquid coloured clay. This is blue, and if we stack those up, there's always a chance that we might chip that slip on top of it, and that's going to ruin a mug. And if you look at these mugs in the background, and these soap dishes here, there's a lot of decoration, a lot of work has gone into these pieces, and we don't want to run the risk of spoiling them by stacking them up. Here's a mug with a sort of a fishy theme, and a jug with the same theme behind it, and there are various types of decoration, but that decoration's all been done by hand. We tend to sponge some of these things, and this is sgraffito decoration. That's where you carve through the colour into the body of the clay, which is very, very white, this particular earthenware. And there is some more over here, and I think I can probably pretty easily get this lot in here. Now, one thing we have to bear in mind is it doesn't matter if the pots touch one another, but for reasons I've just outlined, I prefer them not to. So I've put these three props in here, and now I'm going to put a kiln shelf on top of those three props. Now, if you look at this one up here, which I've just put here again for the purpose of decoration, I've got to make sure those props are taller than the pots that are sitting on the shelf. And in order to do that, I'm going to use this stick, and I'm just going to run it across those two there and look at it from the side, and I've got plenty of clearance there. Now I can check that on in two planes if I want, because I can go to the prop at the back, but I can already see that that's higher than the others, so I don't need to. Now I really need to do that before I put them in the kiln, although this particular stick will fit inside the kiln, so that's quite handy, and I can judge therefore, and I already have done, that the props are taller than the ware on that particular shelf, and therefore I'm going to put the next shelf in. So I'm just going to rest that there where I think you can see the top of the kiln. There we go. I got the lid up there. I'm taking a kiln shelf. This shelf is backwashed on one side and not on the other. Don't put backwash on both sides of the shelves because it can crack off. So I put that one in. Now I want to show you something. Right. There's the shelf down the bottom, and now what I've got to do here is I want these props all on top of one another. They all need to be lined up so that the weight is evenly distributed throughout the kiln. I don't want to stick a prop just anywhere on that shelf. I want it to line up with the one that's underneath it, because by the time I've got up here with 8 or 9 shelves, I'm going to be adding a lot of weight onto an unsupported kiln shelf down there. Do you see what I mean? Now, what I've done here is I've taken a wax crayon, and in this case it's a green one, and before I put that shelf in, I mark the bricks that correspond with the position of that shelf all the way up the kiln. See them there? And then I've just put them across the top as well, just in case. So I go round to the next one. That's where the next prop is. So I've marked that one all the way up to the top and then across the top. And similarly, if I come over here, you can see I've done the same thing on the third prop. Otherwise, you tell me where the prop is. You can't see it, you've just hidden it by putting that shelf in. So you need to mark that before you put it in. Now, the previous owner of this kiln, I think, was using 4 props because it looks to me like she had scored the bricks. Well, that's a mistake. You shouldn't score the bricks because you can't rely on being able to put the props back in the same place every time, unless, of course, you know exactly what you're going to put in the kiln every time you fire it. And so that was the second one there, and so on and so forth. There's 4 marks scored up there. One thing I would say about those wax crayons is don't use the brown one, because I marked them in brown once, and even at 1,000 degrees, or maybe even 1,100 degrees, which is what we glaze at, it didn't actually burn the brown wax crayon off, but it will burn the green, the yellow, the orange, all those sort of lighter colours. It'll burn all that off without any trouble because they're made of wax and the wax is going to melt. So don't worry about that. It's not going to affect anything on the inside of the kiln, but don't use the brown ones. Okay, well, there we are. This is the next one, the next shelf to go in. So I'm not just going to lift it. I've only put them on the shelf there to show you how I can put some stuff inside other stuff without affecting the slip. So I've obviously, I mean, you can't do this in a glaze firing because these three pots would all be stuck together. But because these planters are going to be glazed inside and outside, they're not for external use. We make them for external use, but we do that in terracotta. So here we go. We're going to glaze all this lot in our next firing. This particular firing is going to go to 1000 degrees Celsius, and I'm going to program it. Very nice these days. You've got these programmers. In the old days, you used to have to sit there and watch cones or watch an analog pyrometer sort of creep up over about 1.5 inches to 1000 degrees. I mean, it's excruciating, but there we are. We're spared all of that now with this marvelous new technology that enables us to program these kilns to fire. Now, that is a Stafford controller, which is a good bit of kit. And this kiln is also a good bit of kit. And this is actually, I'm going to show you the maker's spec on it. It's a TLB 112, and it is 230 volts, phase 1 and neutral and negative, and kilowatts 7, maximum temperature 1300. Right, now it's made by the same company that made this front loader, and all three of them actually, and that's Kilns and Furnaces. And this one here, what's this one? This is 8.5 kilowatts. It's the same size kiln actually, but this is an FL3120, and this is 400 volts. That means it's 3-phase. Okay, and we've got a 3-phase switch here, and that switches between that kiln and this kiln, both of which are made by the same people, although this one I suspect is quite a bit older. It still works. Now, this kiln came, when I bought it, with that controller, but that controller has had it. It's very old, out of the arc, I think, and it's no more good. So what I can do, though, because they're made by the same people, the two kilns are made by the same company, this one and this one, I can use the same controller on both of them. Now, that's something not a lot of people think of. And I often say, you know, if you buy a kiln from a pottery supply shop, you're buying it from people who don't really, they're rarely potters now. I think perhaps a few of them are, but most of them aren't. And I think that if you go to somebody like Pot Clays or something, I think they probably know what they're talking about. And some of them actually, Pot Clays or Pottery Crafts, one of them makes kilns. These are by Kilns and Furnaces. And when I had a problem with this one a little while ago, I had a coil go in the back of it. Instantly, I put elements in all three of these kilns since I've had them, because they're quite old, and the elements will suffer over a period of time. They get fired quite a lot. So this is a coil that started causing the kiln to jump around a bit at the back, actually. So what I did was I lifted up the phone and I phoned the guy from the kiln manufacturer who does the wiring there, and he talked me through the replacement of it. And you try doing that with an imported kiln, you won't be able to. Now, the pottery supply company will put you in touch with somebody who they use as a kiln engineer, and he may or may not know his way around the particular kiln you've got. My earnest advice to you is if you're into doing things yourself, and you've got a modicum of experience and ability in engineering and a degree of common sense, always safety first, because you're dealing with incredibly high amperages here. And it's the amps that kill you guys rather than the volts. So you need to be very, very careful. You need to have a fair idea of what you're doing. But if you are capable of that, buy a kiln from a local manufacturer. You know, there are plenty of them in Stoke-on-Trent and further north. And possibly a little bit further. We got Kiln Care, Kilns and Furnaces, Stanton, Northern Kilns, to name just a few. There may be one or two more. I don't know that Cromarty are still manufacturing, but I think you can get Cromarty kilns refurbished. Go to somebody local, because when the chips are down, you can always phone somebody up and have a conversation with them. And I've done that several times. I didn't know that the controllers were interchangeable between these kilns. I had no idea, but since they made them all, they wire them all in the same way. Guess what? One kiln controller will do all three of these kilns. Fortunately, this one's got its own. Okay, so I'm going to finish off just by telling you that I'm going to come back when we do the glaze firing here and just give you a few pointers towards loading the glaze up. And I would ask you, because these videos are primarily for information, so I'm well aware of the fact that some people will be up to speed on this, and some will be, as the saying goes, ahead of this curve in any case. But there's always something that you can learn, and it's handy actually to have a few tips and to see how different people, different potteries handle these things. Yeah, I find it interesting to watch other people's videos in case it's something that I've missed, and often there is. So press the subscribe button, please, because that'll put you in touch with our other videos. And when I eventually get round to organising them, which I haven't done yet, I'll put some sort of key on there to point you in the direction of things that you might want to know more about. For instance, we are just about to set up the jigger and jollying machine, and I know a lot of people love those, and so keep your eye out for that. And if you do subscribe, you'll get notifications about what we're doing next. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us for that one, and I hope you found it useful, and I hope we see you again.